of Stanley's ancient sedan. My uncle thinks you're different. Jack coughed, his hands gripping the wheel. I have a very sensitive soul, Karen. I cry at commercials for fabric softener. Is that why you haven't tried to kiss me yet? She asked, her voice a low purr. I'm driving. Safety first. The California Highway Patrol is very strict about romantic displays at 60 miles per hour. Suddenly, the car groaned. A plume of white steam erupted from the hood, obscuring the windshield. Jack cursed, pulling the car onto the shoulder of the freeway. The radiator blew. Jack sighed, stepping out into the hazy night air. Stanley's car is as reliable as his fashion sense. For the next 3 hours, Jack didn't play the role of the romantic lead or the safe friend. He played the role of a frustrated mechanic. He used his shirt to unscrew the cap, scorched his fingers, and eventually walked a mile to a gas station to get water. By the time they got back to the apartment, Jack was covered in grease, sweat, and shame. Karen was bored and agitated. You're the most frustrating man I've ever met. Karen snapped as they walked into the Ropers' living room. I fixed the car, didn't I? Jack protested. Just then, Stanley walked in. He saw Jack disheveled and Karen looking upset. His mind jumped to the only conclusion a man like Stanley Roper could reach. Tripper, what did you do to my niece? Nothing. The car overheated. I don't believe you. You've been acting normal. I can smell the masculinity from here. Stanley shouted, pack your things. You're out. Jack retreated upstairs, heart pounding. He told Jana and Chrissy the news. They were devastated. But within the hour, a miracle occurred. Karen, feeling guilty, told Stanley the truth. Jack had been a perfect gentleman. In fact, he had been too much of a gentleman. Stanley, relieved that Jack was still safe and embarrassed by his niece's aggressive behavior, apologized. Jack was allowed to stay. To celebrate, Jack used the $50 he earned to buy back a cameo necklace Jana had pawned months ago to pay the rent. It was a small victory, but in apartment 201, small victories were the only kind they could afford. Chapter 3, The Canine Conspiracy. A week later, a new problem arrived in the form of a four-legged furball. Jack's friend Larry Dallas, a used car salesman whose morals were as questionable as his leisure suits, had a problem. It's a puppy, Jack, Larry said, thrusting a small, whimpering golden retriever mix into Jack's arms. My girlfriend's cat hates it. If I don't find it a home, it's going to the big kennel in the sky. Jack looked down at the puppy. It licked his nose. It was over. We can't have a dog, Jack, Jana said firmly when he brought it inside. Rule number 1 of the lease. No pets. No children. No fun. But look at her eyes. Jana, she's a minority. We have to protect her. Jack pleaded. Chrissy was already on the floor, letting the puppy chew on her hair. We'll call her. Flower? No. Daisy? No. Meatloaf. We are not calling the dog Meatloaf. Jean aside. And we are not keeping her. But they did. For 3 days, they lived in a state of high alert espionage. Every bark was muffled by a pillow. Every walk was conducted under the cover of darkness. Then came the night of the sleepwalking. Chrissy Snow was a girl of many talents, but her most dangerous one was her tendency to wander the halls of the building while fast asleep. Usually, it was triggered by stress, and keeping a secret puppy was the ultimate stressor. At 2:00 a.m., Jack was awakened by the sound of the front door clicking shut. He ran to the hallway and saw Chrissy, dressed in a flimsy nightgown, walking toward the stairs with a glazed look in her eyes. "Chrissy, wake up," Jack whispered, catching her just as she nearly tumbled down the steps. He guided her back inside, but the puppy had followed them. In the confusion, the puppy slipped out of the apartment and wandered down to the Ropers' door. The next morning, the building was filled with the sound of Stanley Roper screaming, "A dog! There's a dog in my hallway!" Jack scrambled downstairs. He saw the puppy sitting on Stanley's morning newspaper. Stanley was holding a broom like a bayonet. "Mr. Roper, wait!" Jack yelled. Thinking fast, Chrissy stepped forward. "Oh, it's a gift. The surprise anniversary gift for Mrs. Roper." Ellen Roper, who had just walked out in her house coat, gasped, "For me? Oh, Stanley, you remembered." Stanley looked at the puppy, then at his wife's glowing face, then at Jack. He knew he hadn't bought the dog, but he also knew that if he denied it, he would be sleeping on the porch for a month. "Yeah," Stanley grumbled, puffing out his chest. "Happy anniversary, Helen. Don't say I never gave you nothing." The puppy was safe. The roommates were safe. And Stanley Roper was, for once, the hero of his own household, even if it was a total lie. Chapter 4, The Beef Bourguignon Incident. Life settled into a rhythm, but the tension between Jack and Stanley remained. Jack, ever the culinary student, decided to impress everyone by making a classic beef bourguignon. "It's all about the wine, girls," Jack explained, stirring a heavy pot, "and the slow simmer. It's a dish for kings." Unfortunately, Jack had also bought a can of high-end dog food for the puppy before it was moved downstairs. In his haste, and perhaps after a glass of the cooking wine, he had left the can on the counter. When Helen Roper came up to borrow some milk, she saw the pot. "Oh, that smells wonderful. Jack, Stanley is so tired of my cooking. He says my tastes like old luggage." Jack, feeling generous, offered her a bowl to take down to Stanley. "Tell him it's a French delicacy." Halfway through the meal, Jana walked into the kitchen and saw the empty dog food can next to the beef bourguignon pot. Her face went pale. "Jack, did you put this in the stew?" Jack looked at the can. "No. Wait, I might have added it for body." "Jack, that's bone meal and marrow jelly. You just fed the landlord dog food." Jack didn't hesitate. He sprinted downstairs. He burst into the Ropers' apartment just as Stanley was raising a spoonful to his mouth. "Stop!" Jack yelled, diving across the table and knocking